Okay, there we go. Pia is joined via Zoom, 1903. Let's hear. Anybody else out there for this week's nets? There's 6IP is still standing by. Just unmute, see if your audio works there, Pia.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
4, 5, 6. You're fine.
Great.
Okay, anybody else out there for this week's nets? There's 6IP is still standing by. Okay, 1904, second last call for check-ins. There's 6IP is standing by. All right, last call for check-ins, guys. There's 6IP is still standing by. All right, so nothing else heard. I think let's get started with the week, the net this week. Today is Sunday, the 18th of December, 2022, and the time is 19:05. Those wishing to join the net may do so using Zoom, as it is open. If you do not have the Zoom link, please contact me on WhatsApp, 082-859-2684, and I'll send you the link with the greatest of pleasure. We usually begin with the amateur radio check-ins on the Roodepoort repeater, 145.625, and after 5 minutes, we continue with the net. So that being said, greetings to one and all, and welcome to this week's net. This net is broadcast every Sunday evening at 1900 and is broadcast for the benefit of radio amateurs, disaster relief CERT volunteers, and members of the general public. Everyone is welcome to join the net and to participate using these platforms. I'd like to remind all the amateur radio listeners who have not checked in that you do not need to be a member of any group or club to check in or to use the repeater or any of the amateur radio bands. All that is required from you is that you have a valid ICASA license. The ICASA license issued by ICASA automatically grants you the right to use any of the amateur radio bands at any time, and there is no need to ask for or be granted permission from anyone else in order to do so. I would like to encourage everyone to share the Weekly Net Zoom link with as many others as possible whom they know throughout South Africa. Doing so will help us grow the Weekly Net and will contribute to disseminating information as far and wide as possible. Now it's time to unpack the weekly COVID-19 figures. Globally, the reported COVID-19 figures are at 653,186,000 5,330 compared to last week's figure of 648,981,000. This is a total of 4 million new cases having been reported this week compared to the 3.7 million last week. Overall, this is an average increase of 250,000 more cases than reported previously. The death toll globally is now at 6.665 million compared to last week's figure of 6.652. It's an increase of 12,707 deaths compared to the increase of 11,800 being reported in the previous week. Okay, ZS6 OPS returning after the timer kicked in. This week sees an average increase of 838 more deaths compared to the previous week. I must remind the listeners that several countries have adjusted their testing and reporting protocols, and South Africa being one of them. South Africa's COVID-19 figures, on the other hand, have seen a slight decrease in new cases for the week ending the 10th of December, which is week 49. This week, a total of 1,761 new cases were reported with only 18 deaths, compared to the 1,700 new cases last week with the 86 deaths. That's an increase of 156 new cases on a week-on-week increase, but a decrease of 68 deaths compared to the previous week. The positivity rate this week was around about 9.6%, which again was down on the 11.9, I think it was, in the previous week. Mpox is now being reported at 82,796, 82,796 cases globally as at the 10th of December, compared to the previous week's 82,594. That's an increase of 202 on average above the previous week's figure. South Africa has still not reported any new Mpox cases or deaths, and our cases still stands at 5. Just a reminder that the World Health Organization has officially made the announcement that monkeypox shall now be referred to as Mpox. Yep, you heard the slight hesitation when I said Mpox. It's a bit of a tongue twister after monkeypox. Let's clear the timer before continuing. Okay, moving on. Now, let's have a look at these floods that affected the West Rand in particular in the last week. They've had a rather serious effect on the local communities, I must assure you of that one. For starters, the Hamburg dam wall has shown some signs of compromise. Not to mention the severe damage caused to the Kilbourne Avenue just before the Spa, where the road was washed away and has been closed for the time being. The major impact, however, on the roadway is Hendrik Potgieter, down, I think it's KCM, the bottom end towards the shopping center there, where several lanes collapsed and has also been closed now. Unofficial reports indicate that traffic will remain diverted for at least 6 months. So that there is quite a long time period of traffic being diverted, and I must admit that there is road rage deluxe. There's no doubt about that one. However, due to the severe rainfall that was experienced in the early hours of the morning, Friday the 9th of December, several other areas outside of the Witpoortjie, Discovery, Florida, and parts of Hendrik Potgieter, etc., were also flooded. For example, the Lenasia Eldorado Park, they suffered extensive rains. The Klip River went into flood so badly that residents of Eikenhof reported seeing the highest water levels ever in the vicinity of the Leida Hotel. Not to mention the fact that the region Constantia Kloof also suffered from heavy rains and saw the soil being corroded and actually even moved from the upper side of the ridge, causing severe damage to units in one of the complex of the ridge. 7 units, well, let's just say that slight mudslide that did occur encroached upon the residents and in actual fact entered kitchens through windows and doors and all the rest of it. Now, fortunately, this was not a disaster of its own accord. And had it been worse, debris could have ended up on Christiaan de Wet Road or even lower down. Needless to say, the authorities are in actual fact aware of the situation and are busy doing whatever needs to be done from their level. Let me clear the timeout timer. Now, the worst news for the week in this area was the loss of 15 lives as a result of the flash flood that hit the Yukskay River in the vicinity of Alex on the 10th of December. During a water baptism, several persons were caught up in the flood and 15 lost their lives, including an infant. The Western and Eastern Cape were also affected, as several areas were flooded, despite the Weather Service also issuing fire warnings in several of these areas. So it was a bit strange to see the fire warnings and then the severe rainfall warnings all sort of following suit. I think the weather was a little confused as to what it was doing. However, in the past 48 hours, parts of the Free State also saw flooding in one of their towns, and yeah, the adverse weather conditions throughout the country have been experienced, and they cannot be denied any longer. And then today, there's also reports of a freak wave that killed 3 people, injured 17 others on Saturday at the Durban beach. And of course, our condolences go out to all those who have lost their lives this week due to the flooding, including the policeman who lost his life in Soweto when his car was swept away on Friday the 9th. This really was not a good week at all, and surprisingly so close to home, so to speak. And it is for this very, very reason that I advocate and encourage everyone to register as a disaster relief CERT volunteer and to prepare and to train to assist their local communities in times of disaster. And of course, that is open to not only radio amateurs, but all members of the general public throughout the country, and to everybody above the legal age of 16 years. Okay, let's see. Are there any late check-ins who wish to be added to this week's check-in list? There's 6 OPS standing by. Okay, good stuff. Thanks, Raina. Anybody else want to add their name to the check-in list this week? ZS6 Oscar Papa Sierra standing by. Okay, nothing else heard. I'd like to thank all of those who have checked in this week, and especially to those listeners out there that didn't check in. Please, guys, it's best if you do call in and, participate in all the rest of it. And of course, Disaster Relief CERT has launched the CERT Early Warning System program using a WhatsApp for the time being. So please make contact with me if you want to be added, or you want to join that group and form part of an overall effort and program to provide early warning to potential disasters in your areas. And of course, my cell phone number is 082-859-2684. And naturally, that group is open to all members of the public, because this is in the interest of public safety, public security, and public health, not just for radio amateurs itself. So please, guys, don't be shy. Share the information, share the contact number, Forget about the politics and let's just get together and start looking at saving lives. That being said, the COVID-19 pandemic is still ongoing and is still infecting millions weekly. Please remember to physically distance yourself and to wear a mask in order to protect others. Those masks are not to protect you, but other people, especially the elderly, who, if they become infected with COVID-19, could in actual fact lose their lives. We won't even discuss long COVID at this stage. However, that is something that has to be remembered. And on the point of remembering, remember that it is always best to sanitize or wash your hands on a regular basis in any event. So, for the week moving forward, be safe, be prepared, and of course, be happy. This is ZS6 OPS now releasing 145.625 for general use. Cheers all. Okay, so now we're supposed to go off with load shedding at 8 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, us too.
But our power went off at 8 o'clock last night. Let me just stop the recording here.